You're watching the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand.
Salah to settle it in front of the Kop.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand. It's a big one today. It's the return of this man, Jack Collins, the beautiful fella that we've been lucky enough to have on the channel a good 3 or 4 times before in the past. It's great to have you on once again.
It's always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Never a chore.
Never.
As they say.
Exactly.
In the lexicon that's out there. Right, smash that like button. You know this is a crucial game against Fulham. You know we need 3 points. You know he's going to be coming here to try and disrupt the party somewhat. So make sure you smash that like button for us. We're supporting you by giving you good content, but you need to support us to support you.
There you go.
It's
it's a simple equation.
It's not really much we're asking for, and I won't ask again. So just do that. Comment with your score predictions, your lineup predictions as well for the big one, 2 o'clock kickoff at Anfield on Sunday. Are you going?
I'm not.
You're not. You love Anfield.
I love
away
Anfield,
trip,
and I love. I'm
you just
really
love
gutted.
the city.
I do love the city.
That's why you're on the channel, mate.
Exactly. It's a great place to be. It's just impossible. Train strikes, the whole shebang.
Oh, it's
just
awful.
Just one of those ones where it's fallen on the wrong
Honestly,
weekend.
Avanti West Coast. And then subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the Kop TV. Check out this man as well. His link will be in the description. Big on YouTube, Twitter. Been around for a while. That's what I love to see.
Yeah.
We're out here. Lovely to have you on again, mate. Fulham, as we know, up and down kind of season. A magic result the other night with that Willian late show. You know, maybe Wolves were a bit unfortunate on the other hand. But how would you kind of look at Fulham's 3rd season so far?
It's not been great, to be honest. There's not been much to enjoy as a Fulham fan. There've been the kind of routine wins over the teams that came up.
Yeah.
We've managed to dispatch them. We got that very lucky away win the last time we were on Merseyside when we beat Everton at Goodison on day one. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was great, you know. But there was no way.
Was it?
It was Bobby Decordova-Reid.
No, it was Bobby,
but it was like one of those games where we didn't deserve anything, and it was outrageous that we got 3 points from that. Very important. And Wolves again on Monday, great result. Performance was a little bit better, which actually was maybe the main takeaway from all of it. But across the course of the season, there hasn't been much to be joyful about. It's not been great. The lack of any replacement for Alexander Mitrovic has been pretty brutal to Fulham's, not just goal-scoring ability, but the ability to create chances as well. There's no attacking impetus. It's not a game. You know, last year we came into the game at Liverpool and I was full of confidence. Not necessarily
it was 1-0. I was at the game.
It was 1-0, dodgy penalty, but it was one of those. But you do have those kind of, you know, premonitions, I suppose, where sometimes you feel like you're punching upwards. It doesn't feel the same this year at Fulham, and that's why. Whereas last year, every single game like this, you're like, oh, opportunity to maybe bloody a nose.
Ourselves,
they weren't necessarily great results, but we were competitive in games. It doesn't feel like that this season.
Yeah, it's been one of those up and down, mainly down seasons so far. You haven't found someone to really replace Mitrovic. I mean, 20-odd goals, it's difficult to find anyone that can do that. The manager had his head turned. He committed his long-term future. Jimenez was supposed to come in and be the new Mitrovic, and people have been chipping in here and there. I like what Harry Wilson's been doing at Fulham. I'm a big fan of his. And there again, last season we drew at your place. You were a difficult team to face, quite combative, the plucky underdog kind of, you know, it's kind of the style of play really. You've always fancied yourself even against the big teams.
We were punchy.
Punchy, but this season, as you say, it's a bit floppy.
Yeah, I think that's it. And the problem is that it wasn't just Mitrovic scoring goals. He was very crucial to everything about this side. The side was basically hardwired around the way that Alexander Mitrovic plays. And Raul Jimenez is doing his best, God bless him. But it's not
I always
sticking.
want the best for him.
No, so do I. But he's just, the problem is his link-up play is still quite tidy. He just doesn't get on the end of things, whereas Mitrovic was doing both. And then there's Carlos Vinicius, who's a bit more energetic, but also is a walking liability and seems to do something to get himself. He should have been sent off 3 times this season, and he hasn't been sent off. I'm not quite sure how he's got away with it, but he has. And I think that when the rest of the team are looking at that, there's a lot of people going, well, where's the impetus coming from? And that's why I was, you know, a little bit more pleased with the Wolves game, because it felt like there was a bit more of an identity. But I don't know how you carry that identity, which was very ball heavy, controlled in the middle of the park. I don't know how that translates to Anfield.
Yeah, Palhinha had an unreal season last year as well. Klopp has been speaking to the press this morning on Fulham. It's a really good football team, how they set it up. He says on Willian, the little curly one of the greatest players the Premier League ever saw, still going and going. So
I think he's very close to his 300 Premier League appearances.
And do you know what? To do what he did in the Premier League, to then be almost forgotten about, but to then come back for Chelsea, Arsenal, Fulham, I actually do respect the longevity, which, you know, a lot of top Brazilian players could maybe take a leaf out of his book. Yeah. On Kelleher, we just spoke about him being the number one for this game. Obviously, Alisson's still out, Thiago's still out, Bajcetic, as we know. I think Conor Bradley's picked up something from last night.
Robertson.
As well. Robertson still obviously out. And there's quotes, Jota obviously out now as well. And there's quotes going around on Kelleher being able to be the number one. Obviously an Ireland fan as well. You've got invested interest in Kelleher. He says, yes, no doubt, we see him every day in training. Maybe we don't mention his name often enough, but John Achtenberg told me since day one, this will be our homegrown boy who will make it. I was at the game last night. He had a clean sheet, decent performance. When you're looking at Alisson not playing in this game, when you're seeing Jota out, who's been in form recently, obviously you've got injuries yourself, but do you fancy... is this a good time to play Liverpool, maybe?
I think it's probably as good a time as you're going to get in terms of the injury list. It does feel like Liverpool are on a good streak of form, and so therefore, is there a place in the season where that's not the case? Maybe. But when you're kind of looking at it in an overall, if Fulham had an attack that I thought was in any way cohesive, I'd be going, you know what, let's have a go at this. But I don't think it is, and I think that the problem is that whilst these players are out, and whilst the drop-off to their replacements is significant in top-level terms, I don't think it's significant enough to make a shift. I think Kevin Kelleher would start for, 10, 12 Premier League teams? Fulham might be the exception in the bottom half of the table, in that Bernd Leno is absolutely phenomenal. But actually, when you look at him, and this is the reason why Liverpool didn't let him go in the summer, right? Because there was a lot of talk about maybe him going into Brentford and replacing David Raya. I think it would have been a really good move for Brentford. But Liverpool knew that there would be opportunities this season, given the Europa League, given the fixture congestion. And now he's got that opportunity to step up. And I think that what we saw last night from him was exceptional, to be perfectly honest. And there's been very little, almost every time he's played for Liverpool, where you've gone, oh, that's a mistake. He's
the
a
only
very
one
solid,
I can think of was last
keeper.
day of the season, last year against Southampton, where he was at fault for a couple. But I know you sing his praises. Honestly, I apart from that one game, there's nothing I could tell you that he's done wrong. He's got the highest penalty shootout saving ratio of any Liverpool goalkeeper of all time. I think he's got about 8 in less than 30 games, around 12 clean sheets or something like that. Really calm and composed with his feet. The only thing I would like to see more of is maybe look to catch instead of punch sometimes, but... yeah, got all the potential. So obviously we'll get into our lineup.
So like, there's obviously that exactly, but that's the drop off from arguably the best in the world, or at least in the conversation for best in the world.
Easily the best.
But then that drop off to just a good Premier League goalkeeper.
Well, I had him down as and again, let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree. But I had him down as our best ever number 2, and it's almost disrespectful to call him a number 2, but that's technically what he has been. But whenever we've called upon him, he's been brilliant. We'll get into the lineup prediction. Obviously, Trent came on last night and captained the side. Amazing assist for Gakpo for the 4th goal. Yeah. Completely tore through the middle of the pitch, really. He's obviously going to start right back. I mean, it's a toss-up. Matip, I thought, had a decent game, especially in the second half against City. Maybe him and Virgil were at fault for the first Haaland goal. Went straight through the pair of them. But I go with Konate. It is Haaland. And he did scuff his shot a bit. But I'll go with Van Dijk, and again, shout out Jarrell Quansah, had a great game last night, but you're probably looking at Matip to come back in if Konate did play last night, which he did. Tsimikas, left back, our Greek scouser, I love him. Again, a strong game last night. Well, yeah, you've got Luke Chambers, but I think he came on for a few minutes again last night. Midfield, does McAllister come back in? Do you start Endo, who played the full 90 on Thursday? Do you go with Szoboszlai? Obviously you do. But then Harvey Elliott's been playing well in his cameos, Curtis Jones as well. We know Bajcetic and Thiago are still out. So me personally, I'd probably go Gravenberch to start with McAllister and Szoboszlai. And then up front at the minute we're having to go, not that I'm saying poor us, but obviously Jota is out, so we're going with Diaz. I would go Nunez and Salah.
So would I.
How would you react to that?
I think that's probably as good as it's going to get. I mean, look, it's a very, very strong team, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just that what I think you need, Fulham are not a quick team, and the way that we play is quite ponderous at times. We like to keep the ball and actually calm games down at the moment. So actually, when you look at the Fulham kind of lineup and where you can attack, is it Robinson going on the overlap and leaving a man high to try and exploit that space in behind him? Probably. Is it Darwin getting beyond Tim Ream? We saw Wolves have plenty of joy with that on Monday night, where Hwang was running off him and obviously won the penalty, but they also created a load of chances in there. And I think that when you actually look at the way Fulham play away, it's slightly different. That possession stat drops from around 60% to about 44%. Fulham don't have as much of the ball, and you look at the way that we create chances, all of it's reduced away from home. Fulham are very much a home side at the moment, and our away form has been poor. So where do you look to break that down? I think that we'll probably have a slightly more defensive outlook in the middle. Palhinha will come back in. I don't know who plays alongside him, whether that's a Iwobi deep. Kearney was brilliant on Monday night, but probably won't play 290s in the space of a week. So therefore, I think you can afford to not play that defensive midfielder, because we don't have the kind of pace to exploit those gaps that are sometimes left. When you do have the ball,
so go for it.
It's good. I think if I was Klopp, that's the spaces I'd look to exploit.
Couple of stats here. Liverpool have lost just one of the last 10 Premier League games against Fulham. That was, of course, the fanless Anfield period where we lost 6 in a row, I think. Fulham have scored just 4 goals in 16 Premier League away games against Liverpool, and never more than once in a match. It's the lowest goals per game ratio of 0.25 of any team to play more than 10 away games against an opponent in the competition.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't remember a load of Fulham goals.
No, it hasn't happened very often. I would say this, and I think we discussed this the last time I was on, that actually Fulham's record against Liverpool is quite bad, but actually of recent times, games have been relatively competitive. As you say, the 2-2 last year, the 1-0 at Anfield. There was the 1-0 at Anfield that Lamina scored and Fulham won, as you say, without fans. The games have been tight, and whilst I would definitely not go so far, especially after those stats, to call ourselves a bogey team for you, I think there is definitely an element of maybe the way that we set up under Marco Silva is something that frustrates the way that Liverpool play, and so that's the puncher's chance that Fulham, I think, have at Anfield. Obviously the injuries help, but it's just the fact that these games tend to have been close. I remember a 2-0 at Anfield as well, where Salah scored and it was all sorts of controversy because the ball was rolling and all sorts going on. Offside goal, wasn't offside, all sorts of things. So
I remember a close 2-1 in 18-19, James Milner last minute pen.
Yeah.
When we were going for the league relentlessly. Yeah, you're right. There's been no. I think I remember beating you 5-0 at Anfield once. Robbie Fowler scored.
That's a long way back.
Yeah, I remember that game. Coming. But it is. I'm having to stretch.
This is it. So it's not. That's not me saying that I think we're going to win this game, because I don't.
There was a 4-0 with Torres in like 08 or something.
But I think that we're probably set up just to annoy the exact areas that Liverpool maybe have struggled a tiny bit with this season, and that might be a factor.
Fulham have won 4 of the last 5 away league games against Everton, having only won one of their first 55 such visits in league football beforehand.
It's not going to be much use at Anfield, but yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. This is in Merseyside. Liverpool have won just one of the last 11 Premier League games and falling behind, won 4, drawn 6, and that was after going 2-1 down in the 96th minute, which was a disgrace at Spurs in September.
Yeah.
But the Reds have won the most points from losing positions in the Premier League this season with 12. That kind of shows me that the resilience is there, the character's there. And if you do go a goal up, it's no panic stations. We kind of, okay, we've still got time. When you look at Liverpool's front line, who's the one that really, I mean, we'll try and not say Salah, but, you know, who would you not like to see starting?
Like, I love Darwin. I loved him at Benfica. I think he's a wonderful player. He is a little bit hit and miss, obviously, but actually part of that is the way that he plays and just the style. And actually, watching him play for Uruguay quite a lot over the international break, he was born to play for Bielsa, wasn't he?
Yeah,
like, just born to play for Marcelo Bielsa's side. But the way he stretches defences, the way that he makes things happen, I think I saw recently that he has the most assists to Salah of anyone. You know, the combination is the highest in any of the Premier League. So it's like, when you're looking at actually what he's doing, and that's not something you'd necessarily, you know, first top of your head think, oh, Darwin, an assist machine. He kind of has been for Salah at this point. So I think he's going to cause no end of problems. I think it's going to be very interesting to see that battle between Calvin Bassey, who I think will start, and Nunez, because obviously there is that pace in Bassey's game to get back. His recovery pace actually often allows him to get away with mistakes that he's made in advance. But if Darwin can spin off and get onto Tim Ream, he's looked a little bit like age is starting to catch up with him a tad this season. Still a wonderful footballer, but there have been things that people have exploited. Then I wonder if that battle's something that can happen. But I didn't want to say Salah as a point of interest, but I am concerned that so much of Fulham's attacking impetus comes from that left-hand side link-up between Robinson, sometimes Kearney inside, and Willian, that if Fulham do hold that, and Willian's thing is he often stops on the ball, waits for the overlap from Robinson, and I just wonder if that's something that we might get caught out with here because Salah is able, and because the midfielders can drift into those positions to cover, especially if Trent plays right back, then is there going to be options for Salah to break away? And that worries me majorly.
That kind of relationship now between Trent, Szoboszlai coming over to help, and then Salah spinning off, has, what happened in our goal against City, Trent and Salah assist. That kind of area is where we really look to go behind and exploit. But I genuinely, every time I've seen Fulham play at Anfield, and I've been to Craven Cottage down the years as well, it's always a good game. There have been some real thrillers in this tie down the years. So again, score predictions in the comments. Let us know what you think the score is going to be. 2 o'clock kickoff. We will have the fan cams for you outside Anfield, of course, as we always do. Still the only Liverpool fan channel to do that. Just saying. And then also we've got post-match reaction from myself and Doyle. I'm going to push you for a score prediction.
I'll give you a head and a heart.
Talk to me, head and a heart, but talk me through the game. What's going to happen?
Well,
and if you get it right, ask him for the lottery numbers.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I could do with them myself, so I'll be using them. But I am, like I say, that left-hand side for Fulham and right-hand side for Liverpool, it's one of those worries and joys, right? I think we can probably get joy down that left-hand side, but equally I think that it leaves us stretched at the back, and especially if Tim Ream is playing in that left-hand centre-back role, that pace on the counter worries me. My head says we're going to lose 2-0. My heart says 1-1, and we just, scrape something together, score early and hang on for dear life, conceding like the 73rd minute and see what happens. But I think that this Liverpool side, especially at Anfield, on the run you're on at home, is incredibly difficult to beat. And last year, as I say, with Mitrovic and with a striker that might come in January, I give us a puncher's chance against anyone because I think that the rest of the team is set up really well. I think that without that, it's difficult to, with using my head to actually predict anything for Fulham here. But stranger things have happened.
They have.
And Bernd Leno is a wonderful goalkeeper, and maybe he can produce a masterclass and we can nick something.
Who knows? What year is this shirt, by the way? Loving the...
I think it's 1997.
97, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, listen, you are the biggest Fulham fan I've ever met, and your knowledge of the game is outstanding. So make sure you go and follow Jack in the comments. I am going to go with a Liverpool win.
Shock.
I don't think you're going to like this, man, but I'm going 3-0.
I thought you might. That's what I thought you would go for.
I've got a tendency to do that sometimes.
I just think that if you get the early goal and then you don't need to kind of dig in, because I think Fulham will struggle to get control of the game. And if that happens, then you could run away with it.
Yeah. I'll go for Nunez to score. A brace. Why not? And then Salah always gets a goal against no matter.
Could be his 200th, right?
Could be his 200th Liverpool goal. There's a lot of bets flying around at the minute for him to score at any time and then get booked, take his shirt off to celebrate the 200th. I don't know, it's probably too cold, if I'm honest. I was just come down from Liverpool this morning.
It's chilly
up north. Do you know what? It's colder down here though this morning.
Maybe it's changed over the day. There was snow this morning, so maybe it's just on its way down.
I walked Little Gus around the docks this morning and it was quite delightful, a lot of sun. But anyway, enough of that. As I said, match reaction content on Sunday straight after the game. Go and follow Jack. This has been the match preview. Make sure you absolutely smash that like button. Again, score predictions, lineup predictions below. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Please, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Kop TV.
The voice of football's most famous stand.